Keith Urban is on stage for his first show since Nicole Kidman filed for divorce.
Golden couple had separated after 19 years of marriage.
Keith Urban, a global country rock icon, a guitar virtuoso, a voice that healed millions, has conquered the world's biggest stages and won music's highest honors. At 58, his career looks flawless. Sold-out tours, chart-topping albums, a fairy tale marriage to Nicole Kidman. But this success was born from something far darker. Behind the spotlight lies a tragic, heartbreaking, and at times devastating journey filled with addiction, loss, and near self-destruction. The world saw confidence and charm. The truth was fear, relapse, and shame. At his peak, when everything seemed perfect, Keith Urban nearly lost it all. His marriage, his career, his life. This is not a story of overnight fame. It is a story of survival, of crawling back from the edge when the fall was shocking and painfully public. Because behind the smile of a superstar guitarist lies a story not glamorous, but brutal. If Keith Urban has ever made you feel understood, hopeful, or less alone, hit like as a tribute to his honesty and resilience. This is the story of a boy from New Zealand, broken by addiction, nearly destroyed by fame, who chose recovery over ruin and turned pain into purpose. Keith Lionel Urban was born on October 26, 1967, in Whangarei, New Zealand. His childhood was marked not by celebration, but by instability. When he was still young, his family relocated to Caboolture, Queensland, Australia, searching for opportunity and survival. The beginning was not glamorous, but fragile. His father, Robert "Bob" Urban, worked long hours and struggled with alcoholism. Music became young Keith's escape. At just 6 years old, he picked up a guitar, encouraged by a mother who saw music as a lifeline. Not to fame, but to safety. Money was always tight. There were no guarantees, just determination. By his teenage years, Keith Urban was performing in local clubs and competitions, often surrounded by adults, alcohol, and pressure far beyond his age. At 15, he dropped out of school to chase music full-time. A dream fueled by passion, but shadowed by temptation. Behind the ambition lay anxiety. He idolized artists like Glenn Campbell and Mark Knopfler, studying guitar obsessively. But the industry was brutal. Rejection was constant. Labels passed. Doors closed. Doubt grew louder. What few people know is that addiction crept in early. Alcohol, then drugs. Not for pleasure, but for numbness. Fame wasn't the danger yet. Silence was. In 1992, Keith Urban moved to Nashville, Tennessee, the heart of country music. It should have been the breakthrough moment. Instead, it became one of the loneliest periods of his life. He was dropped from his first record deal, alone, broke, spiraling, marked not by celebration, but by collapse. After years of rejection, Keith Urban released his self-titled American debut album, Keith Urban, under Capitol Records Nashville. The industry finally listened. Singles like "But for the Grace of God" climbed the charts. His first real paycheck reportedly barely crossed $50,000. But it felt like salvation. By 2002, everything changed. His album Golden Road exploded, producing hits like "Somebody Like You," which spent 6 weeks at No. 1 on the Billboard Hot Country Songs chart. Tours followed. Money followed. Fame followed. Then came 2004. Be Here debuted at No. 1, selling over 3 million copies worldwide. Keith Urban won his first Grammy Award. Ticket sales crossed $20 million annually. The world saw success, confidence, control, but the truth was different. Behind the success lay exhaustion, pressure, addiction resurfacing quietly. By 2006, Keith Urban was earning millions per tour, headlining arenas across the United States, Australia, and Europe. His net worth climbed toward $30 million. And then love entered his life. On June 25, 2006, Keith Urban married Nicole Kidman in Sydney, Australia. It looked like a fairy tale. 3 months later, everything collapsed. On October 19, 2006, just 4 months after his wedding, Keith Urban checked himself into the Betty Ford Center in California for treatment of alcohol and cocaine addiction. The phone rang. The decision was made: rehab. Again, it was devastating. What was going well before? Everything. A new marriage. A soaring career. Public admiration. And yet, behind closed doors, addiction had returned with force. Nicole Kidman later said, "I was terrified. But I loved him." The immediate aftermath was silence. Tours canceled. Rumors exploded. The media speculated whether the marriage would survive. Many believed it wouldn't. Recovery was brutal. For 3 months, Keith Urban faced withdrawal, shame, and the fear that he had destroyed the one thing he loved most. Not because he lacked success, but because he lacked peace, long-term impact. Everything changed. He has remained sober since 2006, but tragedy did not end there. On December 5, 2015, Keith Urban's father, Bob Urban, died at 84 after a battle with prostate cancer. The loss hit deeply. His father had been flawed, complicated, but foundational. The man who first put a guitar in his hands, Keith Urban later admitted the grief. Reopened emotional wounds he thought were healed. Then came the quieter tragedies. The constant fear of relapse. The pressure of being a role model. The responsibility of fatherhood. He and Nicole Kidman welcomed daughters Sunday. Rose in 2008 and Faith Margaret in 2010. Joyful moments. But also terrifying because relapse was always one bad day away. He spoke openly about anxiety, calling sobriety a daily commitment. Not because fame is hard, but because healing is. In 2018, during the Graffiti U World Tour, grossing over $54 million, Keith Urban admitted he still attended meetings, still fought cravings, still worked on himself. The world saw a comeback. The truth was survival. At 58, Keith Urban stands sober, grounded, and self-aware. His estimated net worth is around $75 million. Earned through music, tours, and his role as a judge on American Idol. Reportedly earning $10 million per season. He lives primarily in Nashville, Tennessee, with homes in Australia and New York City. But his lifestyle is no longer reckless. It's intentional. Family first. Recovery always. He continues to release music, including The Speed of Now Part 1 in 2020, reflecting introspection rather than excess. He supports addiction recovery programs and speaks openly to reduce stigma. Daily life is simple. Guitar practice, family dinners, meetings, gratitude. Peace, not perfection. Keith Urban stands as proof that survival is louder than success. From Whangarei, New Zealand, to Nashville, from addiction and relapse to redemption and love. Not because he never fell, but because he chose to get back up. From the darkness of 2006 to the clarity of today, his story reminds us that healing is possible. Even when the world is watching. If this story touched your heart, leave a tribute below. Share a moment when Keith Urban's music reminded you that hope still exists. Because sometimes the strongest voices are the ones that nearly went silent.